The awakened animals are some of the more common animals that a great arcane caster would have awakened. Playing an awakened animal can cause some complications, as playing a non-humanoid race usually causes issues where it comes to the use of hands and opposable thumbs. Awakened animals are just regular animals, and one day some great magician had given this animal sentience, but the awakened animal can look like a traditional animal that they're subrace of the player's choice. So, it can be a dog, cat, parrot, ferret. I put some weird ones in here. Just you wait. For the history of this race, animals have been around arguably longer than humanoids, but high magic brought these regular animals to a sentience, to much more of a sentience in their life, giving them intelligence and the ability to speak. For the society, most animals that are kept as pets are a joy to be around, and most others in society love to see them around. For most of the awakened animals, they are treated as some of the best pets around. An awakened animal is, as just as the race says, it is an animal that was given sentience. Their names are literally just straight up names you would give a pet. Lucky, Silver, Bishop, Nibbles, Bobby, Penny, King. Almost all of those are names of pets that I've had. Almost all of those. She is currently outside, but in a previous video, my dog was in the background. That was Penny. Okay, let's go and get into this. Awakened animal. Your base race features, and then you're also going to have a lot of sub-races. So base race features, you have your ability score improvement. Your wisdom increases by 2. Most awakened animals live only to be around 20. The awakened animals tend to lean towards neutral or lawful alignments. Your creature type is a beast instead of a humanoid. Your size is small for the most part. Some of them have different things. Your base walking speed, however, is 35 feet. You have a feature called quadruped form. While you're not wearing armor, your armor class is equal to 11 plus your dexterity modifier. Due to your unusual body shape, armor costs twice as much as normal to be made for you. Awakened animals can read and speak common, and they have the ability to communicate with other animals. An awakened animal can't hold a weapon that requires one hand to use. They can hold a weapon that requires one hand to use using their mouth, and they can still use it as a weapon. So go ahead and get into the subclasses. The first subraces. The first subrace is the awakened cat. The awakened cat has their dexterity score increased by 1. They get 60 feet of dark vision. Awakened cats have proficiency in perception and stealth. You have a feature called Feline Grace, which is when you are taking damage from a fall, you can use reaction to reduce the damage taken to 0, and you can use this once, and you regain the use after finishing a long rest. And there's also the claws, which works just like the Tabaxi's cat's claws features, where you get a unarmed attack with your claws. Use your dexterity instead of your strength and deals 1d6 slashing damage. Next up on the list is the awakened dog. As an awakened dog, your strength increases by 1. You gain a bite attack that uses your strength or your dexterity and deals 1d6 piercing damage. You get a feature called Dog Sight. You are colorblind and do not have any dark vision. Then there is Calming Presence. You have proficiency in animal handling and persuasion skills. And you get Canine Pounce. You can burst forth with a sudden rush of strength. When you grapple a creature or hit with your bite, you can force it to make a strength saving throw. The DC is 8 plus your proficiency plus your strength. On a failed save, you knock the creature prone. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. That's for the awakened dog subrace. The next one is the awakened ferret. Told you, they're going to get weird in here. There's a lot of subraces. The awakened ferret exchanges out their +2 to wisdom, instead get a +2 to dex and a +1 to charisma. So they negate that +2 wisdom they would normally get and get this instead. They get keen hearing and smell, so they have perception on advantage on perception checks that rely on hearing or smell. However, an awakened ferret has the size of tiny instead of small, because ferrets are very thin, lanky, and pretty small. They get a feature called Wild Instinct, which gives them proficiency in stealth and perception. They can squeeze through a space that is as small as 2 inches wide. And they also get Fury of the Small. People know how Fury of the Small works. Goblins get it. You can add when you're attacking a creature that is of large size or larger, you can add your current level to the damage of the melee attack. You can only use this feature once, regaining it after finishing a long rest. The next one on the list is the Awakened Horse. Awakened Horse get a +1 to their Constitution, an equine body feature. Being a horse, your size is large, and a medium or smaller creature can ride on your equine back. If you allow it in such a situation, you continue to act independently and not as a controlled mount. Your base walking speed is 40 feet instead of 35 feet. You also get charged, so if you move 20 feet straight towards a target and then hit it with a melee weapon attack on that same turn, you roll the weapon's damage dice twice and add them together. Once you use this ability, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. And the last feature the horses get is Hooves. Your hooves are a natural melee weapon with which you're proficient. If you hit with a hoof, the target takes bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength. As you have no hands, you cannot effectively wield anything that requires hands to wield. Exception, however, you can still use your hooves for somatic components of spells, and you can potentially still use a spell focus or material component if you have ready access to them on the ground nearby and not kept within a component pouch. Then there is the Awakened Lizard, which they get a +1 to their dexterity. You get a feature called Lizard Nimbleness. You can move through the space of any creature that is of a size larger than yours. You are size tiny instead of size small, just like the ferret is. You can naturally hold your breath for 15 minutes without causing problems. And the Lizard Regeneration feature is the last feature the lizards get. If you ever lose a limb, you can regrow it during the next short or long rest. However, you cannot regrow your head if you lose it. Much like, a lizard loses its tail and can grow it back. Then we have the Awakened Sheep, another weird one. Awakened Sheep gets their intelligence increases by 1. They get a ram feature where you can use your head and horns to make an unarmed strike. If you hit with them, you deal bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength modifier. And the last feature a Awakened Sheep get is called Wool Armor, which is a unique one. When you're not wearing armor, your wool gives you a +1 to your AC, and the first 5 points of damage does not impact you. You gain a resistance to cold damage, but a vulnerability to fire damage. This is while you have your wool. If you take slashing damage, it doesn't hit you, but your wool will become partially shorn. After taking 3 hits of slashing damage, you maintain your unarmored AC boost, but you lose the damage adjustment. So you lose your resistance to cold and your vulnerability to fire. Once you lose your wool, you cannot regain it until 1 month has passed since losing it. So it slowly grows back. So it's a unique feature in which they get a lot of interesting effects from their wool, but it's easy to lose and it takes a long time to get back. And then the final subrace for the awakened animals is the Awakened Parrot, which this one's interesting. Your wisdom increases by another 2, but your strength is reduced by 1. This may seem a little broken. This is also subject to change. As the first feature you get is Natural Flight. You gain a natural flying speed of 35 feet, and your walking speed gets reduced to 15 feet. You cannot fly endlessly, and need to take a rest from flight every hour or so. Your size is size tiny again, and you have a voice mimicry feature. You can mimic sounds you have heard, including voices. A creature that hears the sound you make can tell if they're imitations with a successful wisdom insight check opposed to your charisma deception check. So, just like a parrot, you can mimic things that people say, and you can fly. Pretty simple. A very interesting race for sure. But like I said in the last video, sometimes you just want to play a dog, and you just want to have fun being a dog with a whole party. Just make a whole campaign where each person's playing a Scooby-Doo character and you play an awakened dog. Boom, you're Scooby-Doo. I've had this idea for a while. I want to do it. All right. With that, we're going to move on to the Demon-born. Raising their head high as a long tail wraps up the cultist priests. While not the poster hero, they did get the job done. Covered in dark scales, great axe in hand, the half-demon captured the cult priest and stopped their dark ritual. A demon-born is a creature that is either half-demon or full demon of one of these types that are following up. Either some sort of magic gives you more sentience, or you've lived for a long enough time that you've started to understand humanoid standards. For your physical appearance, the demon-born appears as a half-demon, half-humans, while appearing more as their demonic counterpart. Their appearance heavily depends on their subrace. A Scorchfire Harpy will have their wings attached to the lower part of their back and talons. They'll have talons, while a Cold will have white snow-colored fur across their body, and deer-like antlers on their head. And a Warprite will have a long tail with a dark black and purple scales across their body. So it really depends on your subrace of a demon-born. Demons have been around for nearly as long as humanoids have been, and the occasional story of a half-demon mutant child has been around the world once or twice. While most assume that tieflings are the only part demons, that is far from true. The demon-born are half-demons, that being, they are more powerful on their demonic side than the tieflings are, but it is hard to hide as they appear almost exactly like their demonic parents. Demons are almost never wanted inside of any city or town. Most of the time, demon-born will run out of a city of other humanoids, but among other demons, they are much more welcome in and accepted. Let's go into the traits. As a demon-born, you get proficient in acrobatics and your choice of stealth or intimidation. Your base walking speed is 30 feet. And for your ability score improvement increase, you get a +2 to your dexterity and a +1 to your charisma. As a demon-born, you do not age. Once reaching adulthood, you no longer age. You reach adulthood after about 100 years. Then there is alignment. Demon-born typically side with lawful and typically not on the good side, as they understand law but are not going out of their way to help unless law dictates it. Demon-born typically range from the height of 6 foot even to 6.5 feet roughly, and they weigh anywhere from about 140 to 180 pounds. Your size is medium, and you can read, write, and speak Common and Abyssal. Now we're going to get into the subraces, and I'm actually going to show, because we have 3 pieces of art. We don't have art for each subrace because there's a lot, and a lot of possibilities, but we have them for some of them. So, first off, we're going to go with the Bone Demon. This is the art of the Bone Demon right here. A Bone Demon can look like a regular humanoid in the hidden form, but their demon form, they appear covered in bones with a long tail as they get stronger later and gain a pair of demonic leathery wings as they gain more of a full demon form. This art is of a Bone Demon Gambler. We talked about that in our class videos. And this one is at least level 9 as they would have their wings now. Starting off, Bone Demons get Demon Sense, which they have dark vision out to 60 feet and telepathy out to 120 feet, which they can read a creature's base mind. Essentially is only the first part of the Detect Thoughts spell. Then you have Burning Tail and Retractable Appearance. At first level, you gain the use of your Burning Tail. Your tail does 1d4 piercing damage and 1d4 fire, and the fire damage increases by an additional 1d4 at 6th, 10th, 14th, and 18th level. You also learn how to hide your new demonic appearance. As you concentrate, your bone features retract into your body, leaving scars where they have emerged. Taking damage doing anything that would cause you to lose concentration will result in a DC 15 Constitution save. If you lose concentration, the features reemerge themselves. At 7th, they get partial immunities. At 7th level, you form a slight layer of alpha keratin under your skin that protects against blades. Your body now has built-in defense against flames. You are now immune to non-magical slashing and fire damage. At level 9, you get Beginner's Wings, which allows you to get your demonic leathery wings out from your back. You can summon them as a action, or if you're not sorry, you don't summon them as an action. When they are part of your hidden appearance, so if you lose their concentration on your hidden appearance and your demon form comes out, your wings come out. They only give you a flying speed of 10 feet. However, you're not well trained in these things. At 12th level, your body has gotten used to your new wings and your flying speed is now 30 feet. And then the last feature you get is at 14th level, your true demon form. At 14th level, your body can now evolve into a temporary demon form. You can spend a bonus action to transform into your bone demon form. While in this form, your flying speed is now 60 feet and you are now size large. This form lasts for 1 minute. You can only use this once and regain this use after finishing a long rest. So essentially, it's kind of pictured like a much more minor thing. Essentially, just having this upgrade of being larger and flying faster for only a minute. And there's not anything specifically this looks like. It essentially just is a more amped up version of your demonic form. Then we're going to get onto the evolving demon. The evolving demon is a little harder to, explain because it really depends. But evolving demons look like basic humanoid demonic creatures, but each one has different evolving and changing traits depending on their evolutionary advantages they need and how they live their life. When creating an evolving demon, you can choose one of the following options. Once you reach 7th level, you can choose a second, and once you reach 13th, you can choose a third option. So there's going to be quite a bit, so let's go through each of these. First option is Abyssal Hide, which gives you, while you're not wearing armor, your AC is 13 plus your dex. Next is Abyssal Claws, which gives you claw attack, which deals 1d6 slashing, and you can use your dexterity, and it uses this instead of your unarmed strikes. And there's Beguiler, gives you the minor illusion cantrip, and when you reach 3rd level, you learn the Disguise Self spell and can cast it at will without expending a spell slot, and Charisma is your spellcasting for that. Then there's Demon's Mind. You get proficiency in Religion and Arcana, and when you reach 3rd level, you learn the Augury spell, and you can cast it once without expending a spell slot and requiring no material components, and you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. Charisma is yet again your spellcasting ability. Then there's Demon Sense. Gives you proficiency in Insight and Perception. You could cast the Detect Thought spell, same thing there. Only once. Same thing there, only once in Charisma. Then you got Demon's Tongue, which gives you proficiency in Deception and Persuasion. When you reach 3rd, you learn the Suggestion spell. And same thing, you can cast it once in Charisma. And there's the Dexterous Tail. Your tail is an appendage which you can use to perform tasks. It cannot perform somatic components, wield shields or weapons without the light property, or hold weight greater than your strength score in pounds. Then we have the Frostbite. You know the Frostbite cantrip. Charisma is your spellcasting ability for this. Once per turn, when you deal bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing, or cold damage to a target, you can reduce the target's movement by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. And there's Hellfire, which gives you the Firebolt cantrip, and when you deal bludgeoning, it's Charisma again, and once you deal on your turn, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or fire damage, you can deal extra fire damage to the target equal to your Charisma modifier. Then there is the Risen, which gives you resistance to necrotic and radiant damage. You learn one cantrip of your choice from the Cleric spell list, and when you reach 3rd level, choose one 1st level spell from the Cleric or Paladin spell list. You learn that spell and can cast it once without expending a spell slot, and just uses Charisma again. Only 3 left. Then there's Tenebris, or Tenebris, however you want to pronounce it. You can see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical, to a distance of 120 feet. When you reach 3rd level, you learn the Darkness spell and can cast it once without expending a spell slot. Yet again, Charisma. And there's Vile Sting. You know the Poison Spray cantrip. Charisma is your spellcasting ability for this. And when you deal bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or poison damage to a target, that target becomes poisoned until the start of your next turn. And the final one is the Winged. You have 2 demonic wings that sprout from your back, and you cannot wear armor unless it has been modified to accommodate for them. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed while you aren't wearing heavy armor. Oh yeah, quite a lot there. They're quite very interesting, allowing you to choose your evolutions as needed as you're leveling up. But once you choose them, you can't change them. Next up is the Farseed. This is another one we have art for. They are interesting. They're not all just straight down black and white. This is a possibility, but they are mainly a mix of spots between black and white, like mainly just essentially imagine majority of how people picture cows being white and black, just kind of spots having everywhere. You kind of can't really decide, or like a zebra. It's just kind of random on their skin. It's just this white and black, but it is possible to have them straight down the line, which is what the artist was showing, which is what the artist went for, and I can't complain. It still looks good. A Farsi looks like a regular humanoid, but their skin is entirely black and white. This one is like I said, has the split down the middle instead of the spots everywhere. Farsi only have 3 features. They have the first feature is called animal form. When you create a Farsi, you choose one creature that qualifies as an animal familiar. So from the Find Familiar spell, you can spend a bonus action to turn into that creature. Once you choose which creature your character can turn into, it cannot be changed. This form lasts up to an hour, and if your animal form has 0 hit points, you revert back to your normal form at the hit points you were at before transforming. Essentially, it's like a mini druid thing. So you can't really turn into much animals that can help much in a fight, but you can turn into animals for more stealth or just for having fun. Let's get necrotic touch. You learn the chill touch cantrip, and you can choose intelligence, wisdom, or charisma for your spellcasting ability for it. And there's spirit talk. Once you reach 5th level, you gain the speak with dead spell, and you can cast this spell once without expanding a spell slot. And you can gain that use after finishing a long rest. Now this is a cold one we talked about previously, but I don't have art. We don't have art for. They're a tall, white-skinned, deer-like demon with large deer antlers, and their legs are replaced with hooves. The cold get a few features, getting icy being. You get resistance to cold and poison damage, and immunity to disease. You also don't need to eat or drink. You get cold hands. Your hands are ice, so your touch will chill others. You can make an unarmed melee attack with a d4 damage dice, dealing cold damage instead of bludgeoning, and this uses strength modifier. It's affected by martial arts as well. Then you have Shivering Whale. You can make a Shivering Whale attack as an action. Doing so is a scream. All creatures within 15 feet of you must make a wisdom save, dealing 2d8 thunder damage on a fail and half as much on a success. However, if this knocks a creature unconscious, it can push their soul out of their body and onto the ethereal plane. You can use this ability once, and you can regain that use after finishing a long rest. The last feature the cold get is the Snow Cloak. While in snowy areas or other areas that are heavily obscured in whites, you have advantage on stealth checks. All right, next we have the Scorchfire Harpy. We got three subraces left. This art is for the Scorchfire Harpy. We even have elites as well. A Scorchfire Harpy is a large black and orange harpy-like demon with large wings made to resemble fire. Not all Scorchfires look like this, as seen as this, as you know, not exactly made to look like fire because it's much more greens and blues, but it is a common trope. But all right. So let's get to these features. They have hell vision. During the day, your vision is normal and pupils are non-existent. At night, your eyes burn like hot coals, and you can see in dim light within 60 feet of you as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. Your vision is also based on thermal sense and can work in pitch black when tracing heat. Due to your glowing eyes at night, you are easier to be seen. Then you have Abyss Resistance. You have resistance to fire damage and necrotic damage. In addition, you are immune to torture. With your time in the Abyss, you've learned what pain is, but nothing is really... So it's more of a flavor thing. You don't... Like, torture doesn't really affect you as much for most Scorchfires. And there is Hellfire. You can use your action to exhale hellish fire. As a bonus action, when you use your you can use your breath weapon. Each creature in the area of the exhalation must make a saving throw. The DC for this is 8 plus your Constitution plus your proficiency. The creature takes 1d6 damage on a failed save and half as much damage on a successful one from the event seat. The damage of this increases to 2d6 at 4th, 3d6 at 7th, 4d6 at 11th, and 5d6 at 15th. After you use your breath weapon, you can't do it again until you finish a long rest. The damage type for this is fire damage, is obviously, and the size of the breath weapon is a 15-foot cone. So it's not a big deal, but it's a little something for more flavor. You get 2 last features as a Scorch Fire. You get Feral Stance, which as a bonus action you can switch to a Feral Stance. In this stance, your dexterity is increased by 2, and if unarmed, you can make 2 attacks per attack action and 1 per bonus if but you are unable to make any charisma attacks / checks and have a disadvantage on charisma saves while in this stance. This stance lasts until the player uses their action to drop the stance, which reverts the character to their previous state. Essentially, as you can only make unarmed attacks in this state, which means these would be good monks at low levels. But monks already get that bonus action attack as well. It just means you can't really use your charisma while you're in a feral stance. Then the last feature a Scorch Fire get is the Resting Hearth. When you rest near a fire, you only need to rest for 4 hours to get the benefit of a long rest. All right, we only got 2 left. Let's get these last 2 done. We got the Succubus / Incubus, which is the next one. A Succubus / Incubus is a very beautiful humanoid with small but powerful wings. The first feature is Tempting Body. Your body is beyond beautiful. You have proficiency in persuasion and deception. And when talking to a person who finds your gender attractive, you have advantage on those checks. Instead of your dexterity and charisma increasing by 2 and 1, your ability scores is different. Your charisma increases by +2, and your wisdom increases by +1, instead of the other bonuses. And your last feature is Demonic Wings. You have a small pair of demonic wings on your back, and you have a fly speed of 30 feet. Just nice and simple. And then the final subrace for the Demonborn, the Warprite. A Warprite is a tall-sized demon with black and gray scales naturally that can change color to hide in their environment, and with a tail that is most of the times much longer than their own body. Now, Warprites have 5 features. We're going to get through these. The first one is Psychedelic. As a Warprite, your natural environment is the dreams of others or any place where the fabric between realities is thin. As such, you have resistance to psychic damage and the charmed and frightened conditions. However, you are colorblind. Warprites average around 11 to 12 feet tall. Your size is large, and you have a long tail. Long tail is the next feature. Warprites are known for their extremely long tails. You have a tail that is as long as 10 times your height. Said tail is extremely flexible and can even contract in on itself to not be a problem most of the time. And you can flick it at insane speeds. When flicking a creature with your tail, you do a 1d8 for every 30 feet you are away from the target. You can also choose to grapple a target with your tail and draw them towards you. They must make a save against you. They must make a contested strength check against you in order to escape this. Essentially, as a grapple, you should grapple a creature from far away, doing a lot of damage, start to pull them. Since you're around 11 to 12 feet tall, it's usually about 10 times. It's pretty much your max range on this is pretty much 120 feet, which is very far for your tail to just suddenly stretch out that far. But it is the lore of the Warprite, which is from one of our campaigns. That's what they did. They were very creepy and fought the best at range. The next feature you get is the Carapace. You have a thick, hardened shell around your body, typically in blue, purple, or black hues. This gives you a natural armor class of 12 plus your dexterity modifier. Your Carapace also changes colors to blend in with your surroundings. Much like a chameleon skin, you have advantage on stealth checks. And there is Strong Toes. This is their final feature. You have a single claw on each of your feet. These toes were made for running and climbing. With these, you can chip into most surfaces and climb up them as if it were normal ground. Your climbing speed is the same as your walking speed, and your arms are free while you're climbing. So essentially, you can pretty much just walk up a wall. It's a very cool feature. So that is it for the Awakened Animal and the Demonborn. It was a lot, and I am tired. And that was not even that very long of talk. Wasn't terribly too long of talking, but I am tired after talking for that much for just 2 races. So I'm just going to try to make this outro quick. We only got, well, actually, no, we got quite a lot of races left still. But the next 2 races that are going to be for the next video is going to be the Element Blessed, which is essentially my own version of Genasi, but with different lore. And then there is the Himmelgid, which is one of the new races I have actually added. One of the 5 new races that have been added to this book. Those 5 new races are the Himmelgid, the Homunculus, the Mivimi, the Psychus, and the Volar. 5 new races that have been added recently. 2 of them don't have art yet, but I'm hoping to get those art pieces soon. One of those 2 doesn't have art is the Homunculus, so that one's going to have to wait until we get the art for it. But that's not the next video. The next video is the Element Blessed, which is going to have several sub-races, and the Himmelgid, which doesn't have any sub-races. That's just what they are. So that's going to be it for this video. We don't really have any. Things are a little slow at the moment, but I'm getting there. I'm currently one of the videos coming up soon. If it takes a while to get the art for the Homunculus, I might talk about optional features for the base classes that I am working on right now. Because a fellow DM, who's a friend of mine, we were talking and we were trying to figure out how can we make monks better, because they got good class identity, but I was trying to see if I can find a way to help with the monks. We're trying to find a way if we can help with monks to make them far more fun and more enjoyable to play with, because they're currently the hate of the D&D community, because it was rangers, but then wizards fixed rangers, and now we have problems with monks, which part of the problem is subclasses, but that's what I'm getting into. Just gonna say that's one of the plans coming up is if we have to wait for the Homunculus, we're gonna talk about some base class optional features. I'm doing pretty good on those right now, and I'm enjoying quite a few of them. So hopefully you guys will enjoy them as well with the changes. I'm gonna try to give every single class an optional feature, but some of them I'm struggling with, if I even like those. But anyway, that's gonna be it. I'm getting really tired of being cut off. Seriously, I'm continuously getting